Quick, before we begin, what charge moves does Bayleef have? Do you know? Probably not, and that's what makes Bayleef so deadly in this Rainbow Cup meta. Let me show you why. So I've got PV Poke up here, and let's pull up Bayleef. So if you watched my last video, which I'll link down below, we covered the whole Vine Whip versus Razorleaf debate with Venusaur, and you'll know that I'm firmly in camp Razorleaf. And that kind of actually brings up, it kind of opens up a wormhole, so to speak, and brings up a lot of interesting questions like, if you're using Razorleaf, do you even want Venusaur in your team? And I know that sounds counterintuitive because everybody's very pro Venusaur, but I kind of started exploring all the Razorleaf users, and I think I have found the answer. The answer is Bayleef. So when you're using a Razorleaf Pokemon, you're basically trying to trap their Quagsire, delete it, and then hit whatever comes in afterwards as hard as you possibly can and inflict as much damage without having to burn through all your shields. And so if you're using something like Venusaur or Victory Bell, you don't have a lot of options because they're probably going to bring in like a Charizard or a Mantine, maybe a Fortress, and all you're going to be able to hit it with is grass moves or poison moves. And granted, Victory Bell you can like Acid Spray, and then that'll help for your next matchup. But you don't have a ton of options for being able to hit them really hard with super effective damage. Bayleef, on the other hand, knows Ancient Power. And this is where it gets really interesting. So if we pull up a matchup like, say, Quagsire. So let's run through this scenario here. You trap their Quagsire, and when you trap their Quagsire, as in yesterday's video, you're not going to trap it perfectly according to simulations. They're going to have some starting energy. So let's say they have, 18 energy to start with. They got off a couple of mud shots before you were able to swap in your Bayleef. So if we run this scenario, you will see that Razorleaf eats right through Quagsire in all shielding scenarios. You can tank a fast move, or a charge move, or you don't have to. It's your preference. And I think it depends on what else was in their team lineup. So let's say in this example, we do a 0 versus 0 shield. You swap in your Bayleef, and you, whoops, I have the wrong moves on this Quagsire. Probably going to be running Earthquake. So let's say that you swap it in, you're going to eat a Stone Edge before you can finish killing it, and that's fine, because it's still going to leave you with about 66 health left. This is where it gets interesting, because they're probably going to bring in something, after you've defeated their Quagsire, they're going to bring in something like, say, a Charizard, which is everybody's favorite Grass-type counter. It's going to be pretty common on a lot of these teams, and let's battle. And what you're going to see is that if you don't know what charge moves Bayleef has, and you swap in a Charizard to counter it, and you're thinking you can tank whatever fast or charge move they throw out at you, because you want to be smart and conserve your shields, and you're pretty much just going to farm Bayleef is kind of what's going on in your head. And Bayleef shoots off Ancient Power. Ancient Power does 120 damage to Charizard, and it only has 113 stamina, so you can one-shot a Charizard with an Ancient Power, and it's highly likely that Ancient Power will go through, because, like I said, most people will not be shielding their Charizard against a Bayleef, just because they're going to expect, like, Petal Blizzard or some other wimpy grass move that most of these generic grass Pokemon carry. And they'll just assume they can tank it, and then bam, Ancient Power, and you one-shot their Charizard. So with 0 shields, you've eaten through their Quagsire, and you've one-shotted their Charizard, and you still have 18 HP left. And things can get really interesting if you happen to get that boost. Don't forget, Ancient Power is one of those moves that can give you a boost to your attack and your defense. And if that happens, you can just rain down holy hell on anything else that they have left. It is crazy what the boost can do. But so, using the Razorleaf user, you can do it your purpose, get rid of the Quagsire, and then you can just inflict as much damage as possible on whatever else they bring in. Bayleef also has really favorable matchups against all of the water types, which is what you would expect from a Razorleaf user. It deletes Lantern, Azumarill, all those water options. The other thing that would be interesting is, to continue this scenario, is let's say they bring in Mantine. Let's just reset everything back to 0. And you'll see that a Razorleaf Bayleef actually does rather respectable against Mantine. You tie with it in in 0 versus 0 shields and in 2 versus 2, and obviously you have the advantage if they don't shield at all. But even in this 1 versus 1 shield matchup, it's not that bad. I mean, you can pretty well take care of a Mantine, which is what a lot of people are using to counter the grass types. And so it's kind of odd that you would have such favorable matchups in this scenario, especially if your Bayleef already had a little bit of energy stored, say from deleting a Quagsire or some other water type like a Lantern, and you were able to unleash, a couple of ancient powers against this Mantine. The tides quickly turn in your favor. Also, if you happen to get the boost, like let's go to sandbox mode here and apply the buff, and then we run this battle again. I think this is doing it the right way. Why is this not working? You will see that with the buff, Mantine actually wins in the 1 versus 1 shield scenario, whether they take your ancient power or not, just because it's going to boost your Razorleaf so much and you're just going to rip right through it. So a lot of really interesting things can happen with Bayleef, mostly due to the fact that people aren't going to expect ancient power as the charge move, which I think is rather interesting, to be honest with you. It has really good matchups as well against the Confusion users. So even against like Executor, if we look at the matchup versus Executor, you will see, you will see it pretty much goes even, toe to toe with Executor. It ties with it, which is something Venusaur can't say because it has that sub poison typing. It also does really well against the Slowbro, mostly because the Confusions are going to be hitting it for neutral and not super effective. You don't have to shield. You'll tie with it if you choose not to shield, but I would recommend shielding this matchup just so that you can have that stored up energy, because as you can see, you almost have enough for an ancient power, and you can toss that in on a Charizard or a Ninetales or really whatever comes in and hit it with super effective damage. And yeah, you pretty much just delete these things. So I think Bayleef is going to be one of the big grass sleeper picks. Few downsides to it. Yes, you have to max it out. It goes all the way to level 40, and you need one with good IVs. So if you have like a hundo or a 98% or a 96%, all great candidates, maybe you could trade and get a lucky trade, and that would help. But I think it's worthwhile. The second charge move is cheap, so that's a plus, because you're probably going to spend a few $100,000 dust maxing it out. But I think it's very interesting, and nobody has mentioned Bayleef or looked at it so far, and so I know that Ancient Power is going under the radar, and you can catch a lot of things off guard with it. As I've said before many times, I think the key to this cup is surprising people. So many people think they're familiar enough with the types Grass, Fire, Water that they're not doing a ton of research on it. And if you just make assumptions about Bayleef, like you would assume for like Gloom, Victory Bell, Weepin' Bell, Ivysaur, Venusaur, Meganium, that you're just going to throw out a grass move, you can really do some damage and you can hurt people. One-shotting a Charizard would certainly turn the tides of any battle, in my opinion. So let me know what you guys think. Am I onto something? Is this totally dumb and you don't agree with me at all? Either way, leave me a comment below. I'd like to know. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ding the bell notification if you guys want all the latest tips, tricks, and battle strategies for not just Rainbow Cup, but all the Silph Arena Cups as well. And until next time, you guys, tap harder.